Your Excellency, President Osmani, as Vice Chair of the World Food Prize Foundation, I want to express how deeply honored and grateful we are to have you in Iowa to deliver your impactful remarks. Your presence and presentation have contributed greatly to the discussion at the Borlaug Dialogue. To all of our esteemed guests, today it is my special privilege to inaugurate a new annual feature of the Borlaug Dialogue International Symposium, the John Ruan III Keynote Address. Named for my father, this presentation seeks to highlight leaders and topics that were important to him throughout his life and career. My father proudly served as chairman of the World Food Prize Foundation for 20 years. At the start of his tenure, in 2001, the Ruan family committed the lead gift to transform the former Des Moines Public Library into the magnificent World Food Prize Hall of Laureates. In addition, the symposium grew to include a week of engaging events and conversations, and the prize became known as the Nobel Prize for Food and Agriculture, helping to fulfill the vision of both Dr. Norman Borlaug and my grandfather, John Ruan Sr. As a business leader, my father was passionate about the role of industry in creating opportunities for people to thrive, not only through the value created by businesses themselves, but also through all the ways that businesses choose to give back to the communities they serve. His commitment to business, advocacy, and philanthropy led to his serving on the board of directors of the United States Chamber of Commerce, and in 2011, he became the first Iowan to serve as chairman of the board. Because of his longstanding commitment to improving the lives of others, moving the American economy forward, and his relationship with the U.S. Chamber, I am thrilled to introduce Suzanne Clark, President and CEO of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, as the speaker for this first address. Suzanne, a former business owner and entrepreneur at heart, is an exceptional leader of the U.S. Chamber. Her passion and commitment to helping businesses and communities reach their full potential and positively change the face of the United States emulates the Ruan and the World Food Prize Foundation vision. She has long been an advocate of fostering and creating environments where people and businesses can innovate, invest, and thrive. Under her leadership, the U.S. Chamber champions constructive solutions and builds coalitions around the issues most important to the business community, and that advocacy touches people's lives and livelihoods. Please join me in welcoming to the stage to deliver the first John Ruan III keynote address, Suzanne Clark.
Thank you so much, Rachel, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. At least I think there are ladies and gentlemen out there. It's really bright. This has been a real honor of my lifetime to be invited to do this, and I'm going to try to get through it without getting emotional, but I am just so honored to be invited to give this address, so bear with me. I certainly want to thank the World Food Prize Foundation for hosting this dialogue. I cannot imagine a more important time to bring together smart people from around the world to talk about global food security. I don't think it's ever been more urgent. I want to congratulate this year's laureate, Heidi Kuhn, whose work is such a timely and powerful example of how agriculture and farming can be instruments of peace and prosperity. And I, of course, want to recognize the Ruan family: Janice, Rachel, John, Ben, Allison, and in spirit, my dear friend John, for their many years of support of this foundation and its vital work. So I said this was a great honor, so you might imagine that I spent some time really thinking about the right theme for this address, spent some time with my team talking about it. My mind immediately went to a wonderful book by Michael Novak called Business as a Calling. In it, he writes that most people in the United States only have to go back a couple of generations to find poverty. And those people know the story of the person who gave them opportunity, the person who helped them get through school, the person who gave them the first loan, the person whose tenacity built the family business, built the family legacy. So I've got to assume in this room, in this state, that you know the story of how John Ruan Sr. sold the family car during the Great Depression to buy a single truck, which he used to haul gravel and waste oil. And then with business smarts and a real entrepreneurial spirit, he grew that one-truck company into a great American success story. And then John Ruan III took the reins of the company his father built, and he took the idea of business as a calling, and he made it the guiding mantra of his life. He answered the call by helping grow the family business to a thriving enterprise across multiple industries and employing thousands of people across the country. He answered the call by revitalizing and enriching the city he loved through economic development and philanthropy. As Rachel mentioned, he answered the call by generously giving his time and expertise to help all American businesses by serving on the U.S. Chamber Board, including as chair, and as a personal mentor to me. The greatest example of how he answered the call is why we're all here today. In fact, we literally would not be here at all if it weren't for the support and the leadership of John Ruan and his family. Dr. Borlaug, the namesake of this dialogue, is credited with saving 1 billion people, more than anyone else in human history. His work to help develop disease and drought-resistant strains of wheat that could grow in more arid regions of the world earned him the Nobel Prize. This led him to create the World Food Prize and inspire future generations to solve global problems by bringing together science, technology, and industry. And as you know, as we've all heard, some years later, the Ruan family endowed the World Food Prize Foundation, essentially saving it so it could fulfill that vision and that mission for the future. And John helped grow what used to be a one-day event into the internationally recognized symposium it is today, drawing leaders and thinkers from around the world. Business is a calling. And today, business leaders are being called to solve some of the biggest problems we've ever confronted during the most complex of times. Can you think of a moment in history when the work of this organization was more urgently needed? The challenges we face are cascading and compounding. The scale is staggering. The pandemic sent shockwaves through the global supply chains and caused increased economic hardship among the poorest communities. Natural disasters have occurred with increasing frequency and intensity, resulting in catastrophic damage to arable farmland, particularly in some of the most at-risk areas, such as the Horn of Africa. Armed conflict, such as the horrific attacks by Hamas on Israel, are creating grave humanitarian crises. Russia's war in Ukraine has slowed the flow of grain and fertilizers, leading to the highest price increases since the 2008 financial crisis. Meanwhile, global population growth trends mean we'll need to produce 60% more food to feed 9 billion people by 2050. And it will require increasing the 20% of food that crosses borders to ensure it moves from places of abundance to places of scarcity. It would be easy to look at the scale and scope and stakes of this challenge and feel pessimistic. But as Dr. Borlaug once said, pessimism has no place in action. And I'm actually optimistic. First, I'm optimistic because I am the president and CEO of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and I have a bird's eye view of all the things that businesses are doing to lift communities and to solve global problems. At the Chamber, we get to talk to CEOs every day. We listen to them, and we represent the interests of every business, of every size, of every sector. From that vantage point, we touch every aspect of the food value chain, from plants to plates and everything in between. We see firsthand that when it comes to solving hunger, some of the most impactful solutions are being pioneered by innovative businesses determined to help feed a growing and changing world. Let me highlight a couple of examples. I'm very proud to serve as a member of the board of AGCO, a global leader in the design, manufacture, and distribution of agricultural equipment. Because of their farmer-first strategy, I've had a chance to meet a lot of farmers, to talk about the needs to improve yield, to help farmers improve profitability and minimize environmental impact, all in a sustainable way. Whether that's precision agriculture, whether that's targeted spraying, taking vision cameras and AI to identify and isolate a weed from the crop and only spray that weed, it can save the farmer a lot of money, a lot of chemicals. The latest planting technologies do the same thing, achieving optimal seed placement with minimal soil disturbance for better germination, crop emergence, and utilization. I think when you look at companies like AGCO and their peers in the agricultural industry, sustainability isn't a series of one-at-a-time actions, but a fundamental way of operating. It's the mission behind their work. And AGCO is just one example of businesses of all sizes trying to come together on these challenges through private sector leadership and innovation. John Deere is well represented here this work. Through their core business and their foundation, Deere supports and enables food and nutrition at every stage, from empowering farmers to partnering with local food banks. They're doing a lot to make sure that those in need have access to nutritious food. Worldwide food leader Cargill has launched a 3-year, $10 million partnership with CARE to improve food and nutrition security, increase incomes, and reduce poverty. Abbott and the Abbott Fund launched a healthy food program in 2021, one of the largest food as medicine programs for people with diabetes. PepsiCo tackled student food insecurity in Arizona ahead of Super Bowl 57 by funding and delivering school meals to local high schools. There are powerful examples, more represented in this room, of how some of the larger chamber members are really using their resources and expertise to address these challenges and then bring that expertise back at the chamber so that we can help achieve policy change much needed at scale. Across the world, across the country, across our economy, we're relying on our biggest thinkers, the scrappiest innovators, and the most generous philanthropists. But the heart of this work is certainly family farms, ranchers, and local producers. The vast majority of our members are small businesses and state and local chambers. Representing them is one of the most powerful things we do. Our small business website will have 7 million unique visits this year. These are small businesses, including food producers and people all along the food value chain trying to figure out how to be more efficient, serve more people, serve more customers, and put money back into their communities. But maybe the most important piece is that all of this innovation, all of this entrepreneurship is enabled and empowered by our free enterprise system, a system that has lifted more people out of poverty than any other system. I'll tell you a second reason I'm optimistic, even in the face of significant challenges. I'm lucky. A lot of you are lucky. We get to try to do something about it. We get to try to turn our worry when we look at the news and read the headlines, we get to turn it into work. One of my jobs is to help businesses serve customers, solve problems, and strengthen society. We're the only organization that optimizes the relationship between government and business at scale, across the economy and around the world, at the local level, where we help state and local chambers address the problems in their community, at the national level, in the halls of Congress, in state capitals, in courts across the country, to ensure businesses have the environment where they can innovate, that they can lift our economy and our nation and the world. We do it at a global level, providing our members a seat at the table with government leaders, a voice in the debate in multilateral institutions. We have a team of experts in every major market to ensure private sector solutions can scale. It is our role to help leaders in government understand the needs of business, support smart policymaking, so American farmers, ranchers, and business leaders can do all the things that society trusts, expects, and needs them to do. Top of mind for us is a market-opening trade agenda. We're fortunate to be here in the breadbasket of the world, not just in Iowa, but across the country. American farmers and ranchers are so productive. On average, one farm produces enough food to feed 166 people annually. It's no wonder then that for many crops, including wheat, almonds, and more, over half of the US harvest is sold abroad. While these vital food sources for millions of people around the world are homegrown, so is a growing threat to food security. The Chamber is advocating for our federal leaders to reduce barriers to trade so these American businesses can reach the 95% of the world's customers that live beyond our shores. Elsewhere, trade restrictions are one of the biggest contributors to food instability globally. Export restriction caused the terrible 2008 global food price spike that plunged millions into hunger and poverty. And they've reappeared in the wake of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. We need governments worldwide to renew their commitment to reject export restrictions on food. In addition to fighting against misguided policies that would negatively impact global food security, we advocate for pro-business policies that can help harness private sector innovation to fuel our economy and feed the world. That includes reforming our very outdated permitting process so projects can get built with the speed and efficiency needed to support growing agriculture and food programs, modernizing our nation's infrastructure, making sure our supply chains are resilient to ensure that food that is produced actually makes it from the farm to the table, securing our borders, and modernizing legal immigration so businesses can hire the workers they need, from farms and ranches to small businesses that rely on seasonal employees to cutting-edge companies that really need high-skill workers. We need to provide clarity and certainty on energy policies to meet the world's growing demand for affordable and reliable energy. We need to develop smart and nuanced regulations on emerging technologies like AI to foster innovation, defend against government overreach and policies that create needless red tape and uncertainty, and use this opportunity to reauthorize the Farm Bill and advance the important connection between innovation, climate progress, and food security. As everyone in this room knows, ensuring global food security will take a whole of society effort. That is a difficult enough challenge without the government making it harder. And unfortunately, too often, that's exactly what happens. Despite all the external challenges I've mentioned and that you're aware of, all the risks, all the shocks, it's actually public policy risks that have increased the most. Constant power shifts in Washington, a partisan approach to governing, a willingness by both parties to enact policy through regulation have made it really hard for businesses to have certainty, to know the rules of the road, to operate, to invest in a plan. And that's why we exist, to advocate for a government that works, rejects gridlock, and chooses governing. Only then can business solve the greatest challenges facing society. That process is powered by business innovation, and it is enabled by free enterprise. It is that process that John Ruan believed in deeply, that he advocated for fiercely, and that he demonstrated continually throughout his life. As I mentioned, John served as chair of the Chamber's board, and he was a longtime member of the board before that. He saw free enterprise as a driver of opportunity for people to put their talent and their ideas to work through employment, for businesses to invest and grow and innovate, and for stronger economies that create more security and stability for people around the world. It's one thing to talk about the virtuous cycle of free enterprise. It's another thing to live it, like John did. I mentioned that John was a dear friend, and I'd be remiss if I didn't share a glimpse into the John that we knew as a whole person. He was, of course, passionate about agriculture in every way, from the role Ruan trucks play in safely transporting food across the country, to the John Deere tractor seats he manufactured and collected, to the hunting trips he hosted and his deep respect for the land and its bounty, to the simple joy of hosting dinners and bringing people together around a meal. And wasn't I personally lucky, Janice, that you got to do the seating, which meant I usually got to sit with John. Most importantly, to his commitment to changing lives and strengthening communities through food security. I think John would be proud of this moment, certainly not because his name is on something, but because his life meant something. He used everything he had to help as many people as he could. And I think this essential spirit of his is the essential spirit of this foundation and this work. I'm reminded of a quote by Winston Churchill where he said, "Some regard private enterprise as a tiger to be shot. Others look upon it as a cow they can milk. Only a handful see it for what it really is, the strong and willing horse that pulls along the whole cart." That is only possible because of people like John, who understand and appreciate the opportunity our American free enterprise system provides, and who use their role and their voice to drive solutions to global problems and create a brighter collective future for all of us. It is a privilege to be able to honor John's legacy, and I, along with I know many of you in this room, will strive to live by the example he set of harnessing the power of business to build a brighter tomorrow. Thank you.